How much time do you get to spend with family and friends if you're a private investigator? This is an excellent question. Maybe you're working a 9 to 5, or maybe you're already self employed in another field, and maybe you're thinking about becoming a private investigator, but you're wondering, will I ever see my family if I become a PI? We are going to get into the gory details of exactly how you can calculate your time and how much I worked when I started out as a private investigator. The first thing you need to know is that your schedule starts with your niche. What type of investigations will you be doing? Now, most people would imagine the life of a PI is just sitting inside a dark car for 16 hours straight doing surveillance every day. And yes, surveillance is very common in the private investigations industry. And yes, surveillance is demanding. Surveillance does take a lot of time. And yes, it does consist of sitting inside your car for a long period of time, most days. But surveillance is just one of the many investigative fields that private investigators do. What you need to understand is that the area of investigations you choose determines your time commitment in your business.
This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today.
There are many other types of investigations besides surveillance. Private investigators do things like asset investigations, background checks, bug sweeps, child custody, cyber crimes, due diligence, executive protection, infidelity, cheating spouses, missing persons, skip traces, process serving, OSINT, open source intelligence, wrongful death investigations, just to name a few. Now, I have a video on the channel that covers 25 of the top investigations that PIs do. So when you get done with this video, you might want to look for that one and check it out. Now, some of these, like background checks, can be done almost exclusively during regular business hours from a desk. Others, like missing persons, are usually 24/7 on-call types of cases. And of course, if you do executive protection, this could mean that you are living out of a suitcase for days on end, weeks on end, and even months on end, 24/7. So first, you really need to decide what investigations interest you the most, because that will determine the base knowledge and the training that you're going to have to commit to be successful. Now, the most important question is not what you think, so hang on. Now, I often advise new and aspiring PIs to not ask yourself, what investigations do you want to do? Rather, ask yourself how many hours you need to work to be successful. Notice I didn't say how many hours you want to work. I said how many hours you need to work to be successful. Remember the core question: how much time do you get to spend with family and friends if you're a private investigator? This really translates to how much time do you want to spend with family and friends. Now, in my humble opinion, this should be the single most important question that you ask regarding becoming a private investigator or whenever you're making any major life decisions. And for me, the answer was simple: as much as I possibly can. Now, you need to be reasonable. If I had to spend 24 hours a day with my family, that might get a little overwhelming. We all need productive time, which is working, and we all need some me time too. To understand why this balance is my top priority, you need to know where I came from first. Now, prior to being a private investigator, I worked in the corporate world in operations and upper management. I ran companies here in the United States as well as in Canada, managing annual budgets in the hundreds of millions of dollars. By 2008, I realized I was working 60, 70, or 80 plus hours a week, 52 weeks a year. I was working myself into the ground. And you know what else I was doing? I was making millionaires millions while I burned myself out more and more each day. Then I decided to make a difference in my life and my family's life. I knew that I was working myself out of my current job anyway. I had successfully split that company into 4 different entities and identified buyers for each of those entities. So I asked myself, I said, self, What now? I knew I didn't want another corporate job. I wanted to be home as much as possible, and I needed control of my own hours to meet my personal goals. And that's when I saw it. I saw the ad. Surveillance private investigator needed. No experience required. Will train the right person. When I started as a PI, I worked exclusively surveillance, only on a subcontract basis, doing workers' comp and personal injury surveillance cases for one large firm. I did that for about 3 years, working over 125 field cases a year. And listen to this part closely. I was making a flat $25 an hour while out on surveillance. No mileage, no travel pay, no time paid for report writing or video editing. And if you do the math, working 6 days a week, I maxed out at about $62,000 a year. There was zero room for growth, zero room for expansion, and zero room for family. Quite simply put, I worked myself into the same corner as I did prior working for corporate America. And that was not where I wanted to be financially or otherwise. But instead of making millionaires millions, I looked at that time as a long-term 3-year training opportunity for myself. I got the necessary experience and knowledge I needed to sell my services to my own clients. You see, I had a 3-year plan. My plan was to eventually charge at least $65 an hour or more while working 30 field hours or fewer a week. After 3 years of grinding, I revisited my original 3-year business plan and I said it was time to make some changes. After all, family first was my primary goal when I started my PI business. So how much time should you put into your PI business? Well, this is how you figure it out. First, you decide how much time you want to be with your friends and your family. And don't forget to calculate in time for meals, sleeping, and all that gotta do stuff every day. For me, many years ago, I decided my goal was a 30 to 40 hour work week. Next, figure out how much you want to make a year. What income do you need to thrive and survive? Here is the easy calculation I used. If you want to work 30 hours and make $100,000 a year, you'll come up with $66.67 per hour. That seems easy, right? That's a very reasonable hourly fee for a PI. But there's always a but. We must consider business expenses. Based on my experience, you should always calculate 30 to 40% for business expenses. You have to factor in equipment, licensing, insurance, software, marketing, all of that stuff, and don't forget taxes. So we need to take that $66.67 and multiply it by 1.3 or 1.4 to account for those expenses. Now today, based on my experience, most investigative firms are charging between $85 and $125 an hour. To net that $66.67 an hour, you really need to charge about $110 an hour. This means your gross income for your business would be around $165,000 a year, netting you, after all expenses and taxes, about $100,000 a year. And those are based on 30 field hours a week. I base it on 30 field hours a week because there is this one thing that every PI forgets about or simply doesn't know about. To get those 30 field hours, you are going to have to put in a considerable amount of time of non-field hours. Non-field hours are things like marketing and planning and accounting and doing the sales and writing the contracts and all of that fun stuff. The field hours are doing the actual investigative work, be it surveillance or conducting backgrounds or conducting interviews with witnesses, taking scene photos, or whatever work is needed to be done for the type of investigation that you're conducting. So to answer the primary question, yes, you can spend plenty of time with your family and friends if you become a PI. But you have to plan your business with that goal in mind from day one. It won't come easy, it won't come quickly, and it won't fall into place just because. But a 30-hour work week where you control your own hours is a possible reality for you. If you put in the work, put in the hard work for the right purpose and you stick to it. I know you can do it. I did it. I worked the grind. I gained the experience I needed. And now I am as successful as I wanted to be and as I want to be. I get to spend as much time as I want with family and friends, and I run my business. My business doesn't run me.